Let me ask you something. What if you could live forever? I don't mean as a ghost or in some kind of afterlife, but right here, as a piece of software. It's a wild idea called biodigital immortality, and it's a technological dream that comes with some absolutely mind-bending ethical paradoxes.
You know, this whole quest for immortality, it isn't new, not by a long shot. It's actually one of our oldest stories. It shows up in our earliest myths, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. And then you have these real historical figures, like Emperor Qin Shi Huang, who was so desperate for an elixir of life that he might have died from the very mercury he thought would save him. I mean, from drinking gold to trying the first ever blood transfusions, our obsession with cheating death goes back for millennia. But here's the thing. Where all that magic and alchemy failed, technology now steps in and promises a real solution. It's the same ancient dream, just rebranded for the 21st century. Instead of potions, we're talking about data. And instead of magic, we're talking about machines.
So, how would this actually work? I mean, really, how could we do this? Let's dive into the engineering that could maybe, just maybe, make this promise of eternity real.
Okay, so theoretically, it's a three-step process. First, you'd have to map the human brain in just unbelievable detail. We're talking every single neuron, every connection. Some people think nanobots could do this. Then, step two, you'd need an insane amount of computing power to basically copy that entire structure and create what's called a mind clone. And finally, you'd run that mind clone on something new, something artificial, like a quantum computer or a massive server farm. And just like that, your mind is now software.
But this is the exact moment where that beautiful, heroic promise starts to get really complicated. This is where we run smack into the central paradox, the real ghost in the machine.
See, there are two main ways people think you could get your mind from your brain into a computer, and they both have a huge problem. On one hand, you have the copy problem. Your brain gets scanned, copied perfectly, and then the original you, the biological you, is destroyed. On the other hand, you've got the Theseus problem, named after that old paradox about the ship. In this version, your brain cells are replaced one by one, gradually, over months or even years. And this quote, wow, it just cuts right to the heart of the copy problem, doesn't it? Because who cares if a perfect digital copy of you gets to live forever? The original you still has to experience death. The process isn't survival, it's death and replication. A perfect digital ghost is born, sure, but you're gone.
Which brings us to that other path, the gradual replacement. Think about it. If you swap out one single neuron for an artificial one, are you still you? Yeah, of course. What about 1,000? What about 1,000,000,000? Can you actually pinpoint the exact moment the original you vanished and the copy took over? The terrifying answer is probably not.
To even try and answer that, you have to tackle an even bigger question. What even is the self? Philosophers kind of break this into two big ideas. First is the pincushion self. This is what most of us feel intuitively, that there's a core, essential you, the pincushion, and your memories and personality are just pins stuck into it. But a lot of philosophers argue for the bundle self, the idea that there is no core you at all. You are just a bundle of experiences and memories, and that bundle is changing all the time. If that's true, well, maybe gradual replacement could actually work.
Okay, so the personal paradox is a total mind bender. But let's zoom out for a minute. Let's imagine we actually figure this out. What does that do to society as a whole? Let's make this real with a little thought experiment. Imagine your awesome Uncle Dave passes away, but his mind gets uploaded. He now exists as software, let's call him Uncle Dave in a can, and he's running on a server owned by some big tech corporation. Instantly, we need a whole new Bill of Rights, right? Does Digital Dave have human rights? Who owns him? Can the corporation copy him 10,000 times and create a digital sweatshop, forcing him to work in a call center 24/7 for eternity? Could they just delete him if he gets annoying? Or restore an old backup, wiping out years of his new digital life? The questions are just staggering. You know, an immortal society is really a two-sided coin. The promise is incredible, almost utopian. The end of grief, limitless learning, maybe even interstellar travel becomes possible. But the peril, the downside, is just as stark. We're talking about massive overpopulation, extreme inequality between mortals and immortals, and maybe even an endless, soul-crushing boredom. And just think about the political risk for a second. Imagine a world where presidents and senators can serve for 500 years, where power structures become completely, permanently frozen in place. Social progress, cultural change, it could all just grind to a halt. So ultimately, this entire debate, all of it, boils down to a fundamental choice about what we want humanity to be.
what we want it to become.
And that choice is basically framed by two opposing philosophies. On one side, you've got transhumanism. They argue that our human dignity lies in using technology to overcome our biological limits. For them, escaping this frail, mortal body is the ultimate achievement. And on the other side, you have bioconservatism. They argue the exact opposite. They say our limits, our vulnerability, our mortality, that's what gives our lives meaning. And in the quest to become gods, we risk losing our humanity entirely.
And that leaves us right here with the final defining question. It's not just about what we might gain by living forever. It's about what we might lose permanently in the process. What really is the price of forever?